December the 9th for the town of Vegreville. I call this meeting to order at 7:03. I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Berry makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Get a motion to adopt the minutes. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. No delegations tonight. We're going to go right into our correspondence, and we have a letter from Minister Ellis, Minister of Public Safety Emergency Service, regarding municipal policing committees. Take it away, CAO Ling.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. The letter is addressed, Dear Mayor McPhee. As a respected partner in the field of police governance in Alberta, I am writing to highlight how recently proclaimed legislative changes may affect your community. The Government of Alberta is enhancing civilian governance of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police by proclaiming sections of the Police Amendment Act 2022 and creating the Police Governance Regulation and Police Governance Ministerial Regulation. These amendments will ensure communities policed by the RCMP have a voice in setting local and province-wide policing priorities and performance goals by creating municipal and regional policing committees, as well as a provincial police advisory board. These changes will take effect on March 1st, 2025, after a transition period allowing municipalities to pass and implement relevant bylaws. Every community in Alberta served by the RCMP will be required to be represented by one of the following types of governance bodies, depending on their population size and type of police service agreement. Communities with a population of 15,000 or greater, policed under Municipal Policing Service Agreement. These communities are required to establish a Municipal Policing Committee, MPC, through bylaws by March 1st, 2025. MPCs will consist of between 3 and 7 members appointed by the Municipalities Council. The Minister may also appoint committee members based on the size of the committee. Communities with populations of less than 15,000 policed under Municipal Police Service Agreement. These communities are required to establish a regional policing committee through bylaws by March 1st, 2025. Each RCMP district is a region, example South, Central, East, and West, and each region contains 5 to 10 municipalities required to work with other communities in the same RCMP district to form a regional policing committee, RPC. RPCs will consist of at least one member appointed by each municipality represented. Communities may opt out of an RPC in favor of establishing their own municipal committee or a joint committee with another municipality with ministerial approval. Communities policed under the Provincial Police Service Agreement. Small and rural communities policed under the Provincial Police Service Agreement, including municipalities with a population under 5,000, municipal districts and counties, and Métis settlements will be represented by the Provincial Police Advisory Board. The province will appoint up to 15 members to the Provincial Police Advisory Board, including representation from First Nations, Métis communities, rural municipalities of Alberta, Alberta municipalities, and all 4 provincial RCMP districts. Costs for the Provincial Police Advisory Board will be borne by the province. The Provincial Police Advisory Board will be operational by March 1st, 2025. Attached for further reference is a frequently asked question document with more information about the new requirements for RCMP local governance bodies. You can also find the Police Governance, the Order of Council Regulation, the Police Governance Ministerial Regulation, and the proclamation of the Police Act sections establishing these governance bodies on the alberta.ca website. Please note that in the next few weeks, your administration will receive communication from department representatives with details about planned information sessions regarding these governance bodies. If you have any questions or require support in the setup of these governance bodies, please contact the department. Thank you for everything you do to help ensure Albertans can live, work, and raise families in safe and secure communities. Sincerely, Honorable Mike Ellis, Deputy Premier of Alberta, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services.
Okay, thank you. Take a motion to receive and file this letter. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. I remember this was talked about before, and one of our concerns was if we were grouped into one of these committees with larger municipalities or a city, that they would kind of be taking over the reins of what was going on. So if we have to do this, I would be more in favor of our own or smaller communities around us for sure, because rural crime and rural problems are different than larger cities and towns.
Yeah, and then when we look at what we're doing, so we're less than 15,000, but we're still in municipal policing service agreement. So we have a couple of different options as long as with the minister approval. So we don't want to end up like, if we're in the central, like it's crazy, like Slave Lake would be in ours.
We're in the eastern, yes, so Slave Lake, Cold Lake, Bonnyville. Well,
Yeah.
Cold Lake's larger than 15,000, so, but Bonnyville for sure, St. Paul, Wainwright is another one.
So we don't really feel like that doesn't make any sense to us. What would make sense if we could opt out of the RPC in favor of establishing our own municipal committee or a joint committee with other municipalities. So if we were to get approval from the minister, let's say like the county, the town of Mundare, you know, and just we could create our own board, it would make sense. But we don't want to be lumped in with Bonnyville and Slave Lake, and like it does, like what, I don't understand what they're trying to force us into here. But there is a webinar coming up on this, right? And that's the 17th, I'm sure, correct?
Next Wednesday.
I have it in my calendar here.
The 18th.
18th. No, it's on the 17th. Yep. So, anybody have any thoughts? Which direction you guys want to go here? Like, should we just start by asking right off the bat? You know, like to take us out of that, whatever it was, what was it called? Oh yeah, there it is there, in the RPC, Regional Policing Committee, because first of all, we're gonna start attending meetings that have nothing so far away from us. Go ahead, Councilor Curtis.
Thank you. I don't have that webinar in my calendar, but I think I would like to go, and we could probably ask some questions there as to what exactly they're looking for as a proposal. What do they think they need from a smaller community? If we did it on our own, what are we looking at? Members at large, members of council, and then members from the RCMP, or if how many towns they want, or close associations. I think some questions there, and then we could probably formulate a proposal on what we want to do.
Okay, so that's during working hours on the 17th.
Put it in there, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
When is it?
It's starts at 10:30 or something on that Wednesday.
Oh,
Your worship, I can forward it out to the councillors that are interested.
Yeah, so it's from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the 17th. And we also at, what time is 11:45, we gotta be at the high school? No, at 10:45. To serve the Christmas, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, it's, you know, I've gone over this one a couple times because I kept going back and forth as to which way I thought we would fall in. And I think that it is important for us to bring it forward because it seems like there's an ongoing theme provincially every time they break things up into regions and what they consider, because these fall that exact same region that we've proven time and again really doesn't work with other agreements as well. But I also would have concern if we don't propose something a little bit different. I know it sounds like, oh, we'd all be in that same area, but if you went back and you went to populations under 5,000, considering how many they are and that would encompass counties and that the province is going to appoint 15, that's going to be a pretty hard board to think that we'd be represented on there as well. So, I don't think either one of those is particularly great, but I don't know that they're even thinking about it that way because we've seen that in other things where they haven't realized and probably think we're of like size, but they're not realizing how much difference there is just based upon where it's located. And east is large.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of questions.
Well, it doesn't make any sense, because right now, like our police, say for our detachment commander here, his boss is actually in St. Paul, Northeast Alberta Command. So like that's where his marching orders come from, directly from K Division to there, and we fall in the Northeast. But, I mean, they start taking it, lumping us all in with all the way up to Slave Lake. So I don't know go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
Yes, reading the options here, we're the only one that has the opportunity to establish our own municipal committee or a joint committee with another municipality. Being that there's only 6 municipalities that fall under this population within our region, and those being Slave Lake and Lac La Biche, St. Paul, Bonnyville, and Wainwright. I'm under just my personal opinion is that they will have the same opinion we're having sitting here at this table, that they may not want to enter into an agreement. And the travel, for one thing, and the differences in policing in each of the regions or each of the municipalities will differ. I believe what we should be considering is asking for our own municipal committee, joint committee with another municipality close to us that has the same interests with the ministerial approval. I think the option's there for a purpose, and I believe that's the purpose.
So, Councillor Barry, what does your day look like on the 17th?
I think I could probably make it. That's what I was just looking up here.
Because I'll have to jump out of there early to be at the high school to start serving the Christmas dinner.
And you're saying that's around 10?
It starts at 10 till 11, and the Christmas dinner's, they want us there for 10:45.
That's on what, on Zoom?
Yeah, it's a Zoom meeting, yeah. So Sandra will send out the invitation, and I mean, I'll be there as long as I can till I have to jump out to go to the high school, so.
I can probably jump on that too.
Yeah, well, she's gonna send it to all the council, and if we can get in on it.
Yeah, I'll try and get on it.
Yeah, and you know what, those questions may be asked with exactly what we're asking, like Councilor Lemko says. And, you know, we may just be able to figure it out just by some of the questions that are being asked, but. Okay, so we'll all take a look at that, and we'll try to come up with some answers, what we think will work best for us and our surrounding community here. So it just makes sense to me, you know, like, we're already using the same detachment. Why would you want to bring anybody else in? But they say they're paying for these boards, so they even talk about, lunch or per diems and stuff like that too, that you gotta get together. And, like, if the province is paying the per diems, that would be good. Can't see it happening, but anyway, all in favor? Carry. Thank you. Next one.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Next up, we have another letter from the Honorable Mike Ellis, and it's addressed, Dear Mayor McPhee. The Ministry of Public Safety and Emergency Services is pleased to continue its support for police service delivery to those municipalities which are responsible for the cost of their own policing. To that end, funding from the Policing Support Grant, PSG, has been approved for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Your municipality will be receiving a PSG amount equal to $345,512, which has been adjusted for population following 2021 federal census results using the 2023 Ministry of Municipal Affairs published population list. The government acknowledges the financial pressures in the delivery of policing and the demands of municipalities across our province in providing police services as police delivery costs and population changes occur. In the terms of grant use, the purpose of the PSG funds is to ensure the delivery of policing oversight, the implementation of policing initiatives and priorities, and the ability to support enhanced policing services to your municipality. To maintain current funding for your municipality, I am enclosing an agreement for your municipality's PSG effective April 1st, 2024, and expiring on March 31st, 2025. Funds will be dispersed within a reasonable time following the signing of the agreement. To facilitate that, please review the enclosed agreement and return the signed agreement by December 9th, 2024. If you have any questions, please contact Wendy Moschuk, Director of Contract Policing and Police Oversight, Public Safety and Emergency Services. Sincerely, Honorable Mike Ellis, Deputy Premier of Alberta, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services.
Okay, thank you. Take a motion to receive and file this letter. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. So basically, this is the same that we've been receiving for many years,
The grant total has not changed in the last couple of years.
and they're using on per capita, so until we get a new census done. But I don't know how that works anyway, because I know it comes out of the 72 million that the government of Canada gives the province, and that hasn't changed for many years, so unless somebody else's population is going down to cover, it would go up, so I don't know how that would work, but anyway, I like the dates, you know, they will be getting the money in April of 2024, but yeah, this thing, it will be over in March. We haven't received these funds yet.
No, the grant is signed and sent back, and we usually receive the funds at the end of December every year anyways, so.
Okay, any other questions regarding this? Okay, all those in favor? Carry, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, next up, we have a letter from Paul Layette, second appeal for tax penalty forgiveness. Vegreville Town Council, property taxes, Rule 095300, a second appeal to withdraw tax penalty of $737.36. I was disappointed with your response letter dated 14th of November 2024. This is an unjust penalty because I failed to complete the ATB process online in mid-June. In addition, the property taxes in Vegreville are the highest I've ever paid in Alberta. Following your letter of denial, I had a cordial discussion with the corporate services manager, and I requested a copy of my tax receipt. Copy is attached. This receipt is the main reason for the second appeal. The receipt shows taxes were paid in full and there's nothing outstanding. The town's system produces these receipts on the first business day after taxes are due. My receipt was produced like everyone else's based on funds received by the town as of July 1st. On what legal basis can the town of Vegreville request a tax penalty after giving me a receipt that my taxes were paid in full? If a total withdrawal is not possible, can you consider a reduced penalty? Regards, Paul Layette.
Okay, motion to receive and file. Councillor Wawa makes the motion. Okay, so if you'll just give us an explanation of why, I know we've seen this is the second time we've seen this letter. Why would, I mean, we all know the date was June
28th.
28th, your taxes had to be paid by.
Yes, June 28th was a Friday, so your taxes had to be paid by the end of the day, June 28th, and I think it was 4 p.m. to be processed in that last half hour. Excuse me. Receipts are then printed the following business day, and the receipts are printed as of July 1st, which is 2 business days after, well, the Monday, even though it's a holiday, it's the Monday. But any payments that were received after the June 28th deadline are all dated July 1st. When we process payments, we have to run the batch the way our accounting system works. You run the batch, it does all the payments, and it creates all the receipts. And then what the system does, once the balances are either cleared or there's been no payment received, it runs on when the date the payment was received. If it was received after July 20 or June 28th, it tacks on the penalty because that's the date that it's told to do that. So as the payment was received on July 1st through the banking systems, it was still past the date of the 28th, so a penalty would have been applied.
So it doesn't say on here paid in full. It just says change amount is 0.
Yes.
So there was a lot of other people that didn't pay theirs until the Monday as well.
That's correct.
But we know for a fact that this is not an error of the town of Vegreville, and this money was not received until after the date.
That is correct. There's no administrative errors on behalf of the finance department that the payment was not received by end of day on the 28th.
All right, any more discussion? Okay. So we've already made a decision on this.
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favor of receive and file a letter? Carried. Thank you. Okay, it's the CAO show here.
Okay, next up is policy MOS 2011, Trail and Sidewalk Snow Removal Policy. At the December 3rd Legislative Committee meeting, administration proposed a new policy for snow removal specific to public trails and sidewalks. Council has requested clarity on the definition of trails and if the Parks, Recreation and Facilities would be clearing snow on grass pathways. To ensure the policy reflects the town's current snow removal practices, administration has added definitions for pathway, sidewalk, and trail. Administration has also added Section 5 exclusion to clarify that the town will not be clearing snow from an unpaved pathway. There is no additional financial implications for implementing this policy. This policy is the current practice for Parks, Recreation and Facilities Department, and approving this policy would not change anticipated hours or wages. And if approved, this policy will be communicated to all Parks, Recreation and Facility staff members responsible for overseeing snow removal. This policy will also be shared on the Town of Vegreville website. So the recommendation is that Town Council approve MOS 2011 Trails and Sidewalks Snow Removal Policy as presented.
Okay, thank you. Take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
Well, I'm glad to see that we do have a policy, or going to have a policy in place for this now. Important to keep our walking trails, clear and safe for people to use, and, excluding some of the areas of the grass areas makes sense, because you're just gonna destroy grass if you're gonna try and clean it. And so I'm happy to see this coming through, and good work, everybody, for putting this together.
Okay, so, and again, this procedure is for the town employees. This policy is set up for the town employees. So, and we talked at the ledge meeting about the implications for those who have sidewalks that are part of the trail system. And that bylaw still stays in place 72 hours from the last snow, correct?
That is correct. It's still, if it's the sidewalk portion of the path, of the trail system, it is up to, it falls under the community standards bylaw, which is 72 hours for snow removal.
Okay. And there's, Councillor Rudick is just joining us. He had a long trip home from Edmonton and not very good conditions, I would imagine, so, thanks for coming. So, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, we're going to talk about the fees and charges bylaw.
Okay, just to point out one thing that was discussed at the last legislative committee meeting when we brought the draft bylaw forward. The water rates on Schedule W, as per the discussion on last Tuesday regarding the increase from on John S. Patouk Water Commission and then the subsequent 15 cents per cubic meter relief that John S. Patouk is granting this year. Our water prices per cubic meter are sitting at $3.84. And then the bulk water volume charge per cubic meter comes in at $7.31.
We will have the price from Capital Region Northeast on the 13th. They gave us those estimated prices in the letter that the John S. Patouk received. And there was a couple of issues again that were within their water rate that we don't agree with. It's not a part of the water supply agreement. So we will have the ability to go back and into these fees and charges, into this bylaw, and make the changes needed before the new year, correct?
The earliest that an amendment can be made is at our next council meeting, which is January, pardon me? Is it the 13th? Sorry. Okay, sorry. So January 13th, we can bring those changes. I am unsure of the utility scheduling, the utility billing scheduling that happens in January. I do know that it's around that time that we do the billing, but amendments can be made to the bylaw by council.
Because we have a meeting on the 12th, and we won't be getting the new rates that the Northeast is bringing forward till the 13th. So just so everybody knows that, so hopefully they're a little more realistic in their approach to this, and we can take a look at just what the real charges will be, so. Okay, so I will take a motion for the first reading on this bylaw. Councillor Lemko makes the motion. Is there any other discussion regarding the prices? I know we've looked at this at a few ledge meetings, and there have been some changes made. Does anybody have anything else, any other comments they want to make? Seeing none. All those in favor of the first reading? Carried. I would like a motion for the second reading. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. And I will need a motion for unanimous consent for the third reading. Oh, Councillor Bullock jumped in there. All those in favor? Carried. And I'll need a motion for third and final reading. Councillor Rudick makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. There we have it. We got a lot of different bylaws and policies done in this year, in this 2024, and updates and stuff. You know, I'm really, really proud of the, that work that the staff's put in and stuff. I know it's not easy, and we appreciate it being updated and all those. Did we get through as many as we wanted? Are we taking a year off? Oh, didn't think so. No such luck. Okay, let's go to some council reports, and it says we're going to start with Councillor Barry. He says he's number one here, so.
Thank you, Your Worship. On November 26, attended the VRPHPARC meeting.
Nice.
We have promised to change the name by the time we meet again. Had great depths of that. We, actually what we're going to do in the early part of the new year is get together and do some strategy planning and just take a look at and focus on our terms of reference and moving forward. And at that point in time, we'll announce a minor name change so that we can actually say things a little bit easier than spouting the alphabet.
Yeah, well, you're 2 letters short of an alphabet, so.
Yeah, just barely, but we could use a double letter somewhere to make up for it. On the 28th, I attended the Health Minister's Telephone Town Hall meeting. Most of the participants on there were actually connected with healthcare in one way or another, so most of the questions were kind of limited more to their interest in how things might be changing in the various types of jobs that they do actually hold. A couple of things that did come up, though, is that they're still in flux. They still haven't gotten it all organized and set out. And the interesting part was the corridors, looking at going corridors instead of just strictly areas. And Vegreville got another mention because it was recognized by the minister when she was talking about corridors and trying to line things up more as to how traffic travels and how people move around. She pointed out that, for example, Vegreville, the hospital or ambulances, etc., generally have to go to Red Deer, when the logical place would be Sherwood Park or Edmonton. So I think that we might end up in a corridor that links us east-west so that we actually have something that maybe is more appropriate than some of the travel distances that are going on right now. On the 29th, I was part of the Christmas light up and parade. Certainly the parade, I don't think quite as many people turned out because it was kind of nasty cold. And that was noted, particularly the last couple of blocks where it seemed there wasn't really anybody around, so the parade moved quite quickly. On December the 3rd, I tuned into the Vegreville Community Health Service Awareness Meeting. Not a lot there is going on because actually quite a few of the ones, once again, are all connected with healthcare, and they're kind of just sitting in limbo waiting for things to fall together as to see how it goes. But we're sitting good in this community in terms of healthcare, in terms of the hospital. The only part is getting doctors here more quickly, as we have said more than once. And we brought that up once again at both the health ministers and in this meeting here, that the stumbling block just seems to be taking so long to get assessments done. And it was mentioned that part of that is that there's difficulty finding facilities and doctors that will actually do the assessments. So it's something they really have to work on. December the 3rd, also the Ledge meeting, and then skip right till now, tonight's regular council meeting, but I will mention that shout out to all the healthcare workers, and particularly at the hospital. We've been doing 12 days of Christmas, and the staff really love to be able to come down and get a parcel presented to them for winning that day's draw. And so I've been going there most days the last while to take a quick picture and meet the people, shake their hands and say thank you. And on Wednesday, we'll be, the board will be serving a staff Christmas party for all of the staff at the hospital, and that's always catered and a great meal. And it's something just to say thank you to all of the healthcare workers that are at the hospital. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bullock.
Thank you. So on November 26th, we had an ad hoc transportation committee meeting. So we're happy to know that we have a number of options in town when it comes to transportation for taxi and actually for wheelchair accessible vans. As usual, VTSS always has the handy van available, and so that is really good. We also know that Maple Wagon has a wheelchair accessible van. And just reading in the news advertiser that just came out, I see Ryan's Taxi has now acquired one. And they just put it, advertised it out there. So on the 17th, it was going to be doing a talk of the town, like just recording talk of the town, just to highlight some of the services that are available. So we're in good shape when it comes to pay-for-use transportation. So that we're sitting pretty good. Focus Transportation also still around doing transfers as well. One thing that came up is the walkability of our community. So it was mentioned about curb cuts and stuff on corners where they're quite steep and hard to navigate with walkers in certain areas. And snow clearing becomes an issue with these corners and stuff like that. So, and it was brought up that sometimes, from previous times, that sometimes some of the sidewalks aren't done. We know we have 72 hours, but sometimes they don't even get done in that time. So walkability of our town is very important for the people who do not have access to transportation otherwise. So that's something that we have to look at seriously, is to make sure our community is walkable for people that, you know, just normally walk, and let alone the ones that have some challenges in walking. So we could probably see if we could, what we're gonna be able to do to help. There are mentions of maybe a most walkable block competition coming up. We haven't got to that point, but that idea was put out there, so more work coming up on that. Also on November 26th, at FCS meeting with the FCS manager and Recovery Alberta, and we're talking about, you know, crisis intervention and there as well, and we're lack of help that we have in that. So the director, Marabella from Recovery Alberta, and Debbie Ward, operator of supports, Recovery Alberta, sat in on there. Councillor Curtis sat in on that meeting. And interesting came up about RPACT and how it's not really effective in our area, and also that the victims of crime and Recovery Alberta doesn't have a pot available to deal with this. So they're also saying about family violence has been moved to Counseling Alberta, but no real answer on how the support comes from it. No funding. So that's a work in progress with that one. Councillor Curtis probably heard a little more on his side. Maybe he can elaborate on that. Also next after that, November 29th, obviously Christmas light up. It was a nice cool evening and a brisk, quick walk where a couple of councillors, myself and Councillor Barry, kind of got lost in the dust for a while and got picked up by the fire department, which was great. Luckily didn't have to do CPR on us or anything like that, so we're okay there. December 3rd, our legislative committee meeting. December 5th, we had I had a meeting with MLA Armstrong Homnick and FCS manager Julie Gottsling regarding the ACP grant. So there was discussion around, you know, the application for it. So MLA Homnick gave us some advice on some other, and hooked us up with another person in an email. We're in the process of hearing what's going on there a little bit. Couple little other direction on a couple of different grants we might be able to apply for. So, and there was an interesting email that just came out today. I didn't have a chance to review everything, but it was also regarding some grants. So more to coming on that later. December 6th, our town Christmas party. So it was good to see everyone who came out that night, and the meal was fantastic. And council got out of there in time to let everybody have some real fun. Maybe Councillor Curtis fit in a little better. He's a little younger, right? So, yeah, there we go. And tonight's town council meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Werwa.
Well, mine goes back just a little more because I was gone for 2 weeks. So I had the November 19th legislative meeting. I had a library meeting on the 20th, and I'll come back to that one, and the December 3rd ledge meeting in tonight's council. So for the library, I have just a few things to discuss on there. We do have a few vacant positions for board members, so we're going to be addressing that and going back to some people who had applied before and continuing to put the word out there because there are some spots. As well, we were in the process of finalizing interviews, and there was, at our last meeting, they were putting out an offer to a new library board manager, so that was just happening. They did do some budget discussions and planning. Of course, they always... It's a little bit unique for them for budgeting because the town does do a full past budget in December, but not other partners. So the county, for example, passes more like, I guess, an interim that they update. So they don't typically have a final decision on funding from the county until later on. So they kind of operate based upon the previous, which is usually the funds received from the province. So
Yeah, they just passed it along.
yeah, so that's kind of what they're operating on now, and they're looking at what that means for the upcoming year. Next week, they actually have a plan of service meeting, so we're going to be going through that. One of the items that we had a secondary committee I was sitting on along with Murray Armitage was they've been working on formal land acknowledgement, and that was passed at the last meeting, so we will incorporate that in our future meetings. We revisited the discussion that we had about tracking a little bit, doing better tracking of who's coming in or out. And with some of the changes in the board and the change of the manager, the flavor has definitely changed. And they were very open and understanding of the need to track and what it does, and the fact that it'll allow us advocacy even when we are working with our other partners in the library, if we can show a little bit more of who is using the library. So they seemed open to really kind of changing the way that goes, but of course want to discuss it with the new manager because they're not fully in place yet. And then the other thing was, I know during our budget presentation, we gotten what we maybe were calling a bit of a sneak peek of the logo and design, but that isn't going to be the logo going forward. It was a little bit of work from the previous manager in discussion in our meeting. It didn't quite fit any of the vision that the board had seen, so they actually said, we're just going to hold for a little bit, get our new manager in place, plus go back to the original company to find out, because we were supposed to give them some information. We just want to see what information was provided to us, and the reason we really want to look at that is we want something that, you know, makes sense, is eye-catching, as well as represents the town, and we didn't really feel that any of that logo was anything specific to our area or is really catching it. It wasn't quite on the mark, and we don't want to see a big changeover of any items until they've actually nailed down that logo. So we're still going to be in a little bit of a work spot on that. And that's kind of all we had with the library board. And then the only other thing I was going to bring up was just a meeting I had today that it related to some topics we had up the other day. So there is a couple groups that, and we may need to, in the future, I'm thinking after in the new year, potentially have a discussion with our MLA, especially in her role as parliamentary secretary for Ukrainian evacuees, because so there is a few other groups, one of which is even like the Bonneville group that does the support for our Ukrainian refugees, that has been facing some of the same problems that our group has faced, with issues with their work permit extensions, issues with them not being able to access funding. And they've indicated the same thing, that they had done some outreach on the federal level to the minister, and from what has come back, there is no indication that there's any additional funding other than what had come out originally with the QIT one-time funding source. So they don't see any more support on the federal side in actual financial support. And on the provincial side, they're again a little bit concerned that the way it's shaping out, the outlying communities, which are actually the ones that are providing better support for these individuals, aren't actually the ones being able to access any actual financial resources. These people are being supported better out here, but they're being supported by the generosity and the work of the local people, not by actual dollars coming to them. So they may be doing some advocacy, so it might be something for us to have a little bit of a discussion on. In particular, the issue that is happening is when the when they were still looking at people under the queue at visa time, they were really looking at it as saying, okay, these individuals, they were giving them some special classification. But then once they formally ended it, they've just flipped all these individuals just into the regular immigration period, which has these big, long waiting times. And if anything goes wrong with these applications, all of a sudden people are just in a regular processing. And sometimes that processing it's putting them out of status, making them unable to work. And recently, there were some local individuals who had applied through the contacts and asked for urgent review of some of the applications. And today, I was in a discussion back where the federal government has said, no, it's not considered urgent. They don't consider it urgent because their definition of urgency is different than what we think. I mean, first, certainly for us, if we look at somebody having no job, no ability to have money or finances, we consider that urgent. But on an immigration IRCC level, they don't consider that urgent. The only things that they really put in urgent is like if someone was coming on a visitor's visa, for example, that was 200 days, and you were coming because somebody was in the hospital and you had a doctor's note. They look at that as urgent. Anything else that's an application that's processing, they just consider it regular. So that's something that we may need to have some discussion with the province, because I think it's going to catch a bunch of people. And then the other issue that really is a community, I know we've been trying to connect a little bit with our immigration minister provincially, didn't really happen. But we really need to iron out with them the fact that there is a disconnection in lingo between what a federal applied status is and what that means to a provincial group. Because provincially they don't understand, or I shouldn't say understand, they don't acknowledge the word implied status. And that is cutting people off of healthcare and ability to drive through Service Alberta. So I don't think that it's for means of intention. I think it is because they're just operating on two different definitions and policy, and there maybe needs to be a sit down with this group and say to them, like, this is what is happening, because I think it's an oversight that could be easily corrected, but it's impacting a lot of people, and it's impacting people even in our community. So that's all.
You think it could be easily corrected? Oversight at the provincial or federal level?
I think at a provincial level, there's more chance to correct it than
I
at a
would
federal
agree with
level.
that, yeah.
And I think provincially, I don't think they're making a wrong decision. They would just be looking at a checklist and saying you're required to have an active visa to be able to, say, still have your healthcare and, say, driving, for example. And so I think that makes sense on a provincial side. But what they don't realize is on the federal side, because of the delays in the broken system that's there, they've thrown in this word implied status, which in the federal lingo, they're going, okay, well, cool, a person's not getting thrown out, they're not getting deported, they can still work because they have this implied status in some cases, but they don't realize, so then their processing times have even gone longer because they're in no rush. In the meantime, provincially just looks at it as you're out of status and they cut them off. So I really think if there was some conversation, it could be something as simple as saying after the end, your status would, extend 3 months beyond the date of. That could very simply solve it. But yeah, there's a lot of issues going on with that. And then, of course, nothing has really been fixed on the provincial side for the PRs. It's still not working, and almost daily there's communications federally where people are not understanding how that rural renewal stream is working. So that has not been fixed.
Doesn't sound like it's gonna get fixed.
Let's hope.
Councillor Riddick, thank you. Councillor Riddick.
Well, since we last met, we've had 3 different seasons in the area. Seriously, November 26th, we had the Ad Hoc Transportation Committee, and as Councillor Bullock referenced, we actually have multiple local businesses that have stepped into the transportation business, which is actually very helpful for residents that live in the area. There are 2 more that have joined since we started this committee. And 2 existing have amplified what they offer, which is actually a great place to be. So there are some new businesses offering transportation. ISON is one that's new. I think that's how you say it. As well as Maple Wagon. And then, of course, we have Ryan Taxi, Plaza Taxi, as well as VTSS and Focus. So there are actually quite a few options for folks. And one thing that needs to be continued is how to more effectively reach seniors. And this reminded those of us that were there to continue to have the conversations as much as we are very fortunate to have a local radio station and social media offering. There are still many seniors that prefer the traditional expected ways of communication, which would be through the mail, which we can't do right now, or through the newspaper. So some of our communication as a municipality needs to continue to offer that. And then the other part, as Councillor Bullock referred to, is making sure that we're encouraging people to make the community walkable, which includes ramping up again shoveling and accessibility services, which ties into Vegmin learning. Vegmin used to have a list of available shovelers, kind of like the service that FCSS offered, so I'm not sure where that's at, but we've talked about connecting again and making sure that if seniors are looking for those kind of services to continue remaining in their home, the last couple days have made it evidently clear again that if you don't live in a neighborhood where you know people, you really could be in a bad situation. So just want to remind everybody that shoveling a little bit extra past your driveway to help out a neighbor is always very helpful. And if you have the ability and the desire, there are 2 different locations that you could offer your shoveling services, either for free or for a charge. Vegmin and FCSS have talked about compiling a list of shovelers. December 2nd, Building Pathways to Learning was a workshop that I attended for Vegmin, CALS, and the Two Hills Adult Learning. And it was a regional workshop offering just trying to decide and design some of the ways that we offer adult learning in the region. Vegmin and CALS obviously offer learning opportunities in the Vegreville area, literacy in particular for CALS, for families and their young ones. And Vegmin has been in operation since 1975 and offers adult learning. And just as a recap, there is a new manager there, so David has been really, before the previous manager left, there was a new website, so you can register online for some of the courses. And there's a variety of courses that are offered. Some of them are actually necessary for your next step in post-secondary, so there are pre-trades math and science prep courses, as well as the math foundations that are necessary for the LPN program. Both of those are extremely important, particularly if you're making a transition from one career to the other. But there are also the English conversation circles, first aid, and prenatal classes, as well as technology help. So again, for those of you that need access to a computer and or printer, or even just to figure out how to use your iPhone, even if you happen to be young enough and still don't know how to use your iPhone, you can go to Vegmin and get a little bit of extra help from the staff there. As well as other courses to be determined. So that regional approach to presenting and offering learning, the academic upgrading, for example, it's called CAKE, no longer your GED. So some of those will be important for people that are looking. So it's Canadian Adult Education Credential. Those are offered in the evening for 14 weeks, and the cost is $50. So it's incredibly affordable and really important for those that would be making their next move and also be able to make more money. So they also are very happy with the conversations that they've been having with Arctic Response and finding a way to be able to complement and help one another serve our community, which is great. December 3rd, Legislative Committee meeting. December 8th, I joined Councillor Lemko and Councillor Ogrodnik to attend the Homestead Lodge annual Christmas party. I still feel the effects of the studenots, the head cheese from the meal. It's a great meal, great opportunity to be able to see some of the seniors from the community and their families. The weather was terrible, so some of their family members weren't able to attend, but great to be able to see people in the community be able to celebrate with some of our seniors. And tonight's council meeting. One thing I'll just mention is the Ukrainian Consul General is finishing his posting this week. So some of you may have had an opportunity, I think most of us here would have had an opportunity to meet with Consul General Danileko, but he's getting reposted or returning back to Ukraine, and somebody else will be coming. So his last week is this week, which is kind of unfortunate because he's been very familiar with Vegreville and very helpful with a lot of the work that we've done with our committee here. So I don't know if it's possible, but if you'd like to send a letter from the town of Vegreville, I would be happy to drop it off at the office, because their building happens, or his office happens to be in the same office building. But he's been very helpful for a lot of the people that have now called Vegreville home. So if we wanted to send a message, I'd be happy to accommodate, and at the very least, thank him for his work.
I think that sounds like a good idea. He's been in our community many times and really been, help a lot of the newcomers, of the displaced Ukrainians, and really helped us navigate, and even with our sister city and stuff in the Ukraine. So I think we should maybe draft a letter from the town of Vegreville Council and thank him for his time and his help. So yeah, that sounds good. I guess we'll put somebody on that. We don't need a stamp, you're gonna hand deliver it, so won't be stuck. But I do, seriously, I do think it's a good idea. He has been a good friend to Vegreville since he took that role on, so. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. I'll start on November 26th. So as Councillor Bullock had mentioned, we had a FCSS meeting with Recovery Alberta and Debbie Ward. The only thing I can really add is that they, spoke about advocacy, which we've been talking about between the RCMP liaison presentation that we had at FCSS, which we should be getting here as well for us to see. And just that something's missing right now. So the advocacy needs to be there. We need to look for grant opportunities to get people here, whether we have to work to get them here for the interim until something gets figured out. But that was what I mostly took out of it, other than what Councillor Bullock said, was just the advocacy part, which I think our FCSS group is doing a very good job on that as well, getting some more clarity with victim services and who can qualify and who doesn't, and if it's crime related or not, which I think we have some answers coming from FCSS on that. November 29th, the Christmas light up and parade. So was downtown for the countdown, and then I quickly threw my son at my wife and ran to catch the float down past all the patrons. And yeah, it was kind of cold, but it was good. It went fairly quickly, and I think there was a few less people than last year, but it was rather cold. The week after that, I was sick, so I missed a few things the week of the 3rd, but I did get healthy just in time for the Christmas party, for the town Christmas party. So they put me to work there. I was at the registration table getting everybody signed in, helping out, and then I helped get midnight loon shout for everybody as they get a little hungry after their dancing and a few drinks go down. And then tonight's council meeting, and that's all for me this time.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'm sure that the staff helped or appreciated all your help.
Well, I should say the social committee does a lot to get that going and make sure it's set up well. So a big hand to everybody on that committee, and the other staff too join in and help in the cleanup and stuff at the end of the night. So it goes well.
Excellent, thank you very much. Councillor Lemko.
Thank you, Your Worship. November 27th, I attended the Minburn Foundation Building Committee meeting. This was the last meeting before we meet with the all member municipalities. That'll be tomorrow night, where the final submission report will be presented to municipalities looking for letters of support. At that building committee meeting was our original consultant who does the performa, our cost consultants, our architect, and our project manager. And they threw out numbers that regarding the Class B costing review, which will be summarized tomorrow night and presented of what that looks like. Looking for letters of support as they get ready for the final submission of our grant. November 27th, I attended the Vegreville Stands With Ukraine committee meeting. And the committee meets, and we're at the point now where we're discussing the needs of the individual families and the challenges that are faced by those families within our community, and what we can do to support those. We're now more on a personal level with those families. We know their needs, we know their children, we know everything that goes on and the challenges that they're facing. So the committee's talking from a family level versus a a big overarching Ukrainian evacuees. So interesting to sit around and talk. The committee is so committed to helping as much as they can in whatever way they can. So kudos to them. November 28th, I had a Go East of Edmonton board meeting, more of a introduction of the new board members from the AGM that was held 2 weeks prior, going over the financials and some initiatives for next year. November 29th, I also attended the Christmas Light Up Parade, a very chilly night. And I remember towards the end there when the last float turned the corner, heading east towards the arena, and I stood by Century Park, and there wasn't a ride home, so I marched back to my truck at the co-op parking lot, and I think I got there when the sun was coming up. December 3rd, it was a ledger meeting. On December 4th, I attended a webinar on the Ukrainian Train the Trainer program. And it was, this last workshop was resources to address the housing needs and employment integration of Ukrainian evacuees in rural communities. Interesting to sit on that when they're presenting to agencies and individuals who want to help rural Ukrainians settle in rural Alberta. And it's kind of like, we already did that to stand with Ukraine. And it's interesting to see the questions that come up on how they can assist as they move people from the cities to rural Alberta. So, and these were some of the workshops to help with that. December 4th, I attended the Cultural Association meeting of the Building Committee, of which I'm a member. It was to deal with the building was built in the late 70s or mid 70s, and it looks like it was built in the mid 70s from the inside. So there needs to be some love and some upgrades to some paint and some LED lights, and converting 3 bathrooms into 2, one being wheelchair accessible, and some kitchen work in there. So the committee was working on that, which I'm part of. December 6th, the town Christmas party. It was a nice evening put on, and thanks to Councillor Curtis for cleaning up and helping out at the ends there. I was 2 hours into sleep when you were doing that. December 8th, the Homestead Lodge Christmas dinner, another beautiful event put on by the staff over there and the volunteers. Nice to see the members that are the seniors that are living there, surrounded by their families, and the smiles and the happiness there, which is why we do that at that. And tonight's council meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Seems like you had a busy week. So myself on November the 27th, we had a proclamation here with IDPD and what's that gentleman's name? I forget his name. Derek Christensen. Yeah, he's always very enthusiastic about what he does and stuff. So it was nice, and we got a nice picture done. So hopefully it'll be out in the paper. On the 28th, Alberta Munis, we had just a Teams meeting regarding some of the outstanding resolutions that did not, it wasn't, we were voting on them. It wasn't a quorumed event or anything like that, but some of the resolutions that they didn't get to. On the 29th, I had a meeting with the reporter from the News Advertiser and just talked about some of the stuff that's been going the last few council meetings and some of the names of the businesses and what's happening at the Prosperity Park. And it went very well. On the 29th, the Christmas light up. I'd like to apologize to a few people. They asked me how do we collaborate with TELUS to turn the light on? And I said the bad thing is the switch is at the top of the candle, and we have to get the guy up there first. But I was only joking to those on the street that thought I was serious. And again, it was a little chilly for sure. And then on the 30th, I attended the chamber, the Vegreville Chamber of Commerce, Vegreville and District Chamber of Commerce Christmas party, and it was a whole different format this year, and the numbers were down quite substantial from what they've seen in the past, but ALGC would not let them advertise that about their party because it was a casino night, even though it was like fun money. But it was a nice event, and wasn't as formal as before, and it was just appies like all night long. There was appies coming out all night long. The high school, the comp, and their class and their instructor did all it. So it was a different night. It was a lot of fun, and I think that the more people that hear about it and how much fun it was, that they'd have a bigger attendance. On the 2nd, I was part of a focus group as a board member of Alberta Hub, and the government of Alberta has hired a lobbyist to talk to different RETAs about what it looks like now that the funding is being pulled away. So I listened for quite a while trying to figure out why the government would hire a lobbyist to talk to us about them not supporting us anymore. So yeah, so when they asked for my input, everybody was quite surprised. I had nothing to say. So when they asked for my input, I'm pretty surprised. He was pretty surprised at what I had to tell him. Like, I cannot believe that you're lobbying us. What, you want to get us to the point that we're all happy about being defunded? I mean, I just don't get where you're going with this. Well, what we're trying to do is trying to find a way for you guys to survive without the provincial money. I said, so you want us to feel happy about another download so we could double the per capita rate to keep our RETA going? Yeah. So at the end, I think he wants to quit being a lobbyist. It didn't go good for him, I'll tell you that. So, and everybody else was clapping on the little screen. They were all making clapping marks. So, yeah. Then we had the Ledge meeting on the 3rd, and then on the 5th, Director Saskew and myself did the taping over at the Country 106 for Talk of the Town, which come out today, and I'm hoping that everybody had a chance to listen to that. And again, we brought up again the small business tax incentive. I mean, I know we were going to put it in our mail out, and again, I just want to encourage us all businesses in the town of Vegreville, go online, the Town of Vegreville site, and you can fill it out online, and you can save yourself 20% in your property taxes just by filling it out if you're under 50 employees. And then on the 6th, I did the food bank pickup, and at the new location, the new drop-off where they're at, over by Pot of Gold. It was quite a bit this time. There was 2 big loads out of No Frills, and then over to Walmart. So then the town Christmas party was a really nice event, and the food was really good. And I want to thank the committee that does all this work on behalf of this municipality and all the employees, because they did a great job. And I've had quite a few phone calls in the middle of all this, and working with some other economic meetings with Jameson and his department. So things are going pretty good there. And then tonight's town council meeting. That's what I have. Is there any other business of council? Well, seeing that, I am going to adjourn this meeting at 8:11. Thank you all.